Hello. I've been working so hard that I barely had time to rush around to the shops and get some chocolate or make a cup of tea before it started. So if you hear slurpy noises, it's me with the tea. Apologies in advance. But this is an hour of an Inktober special. And Inktober is something I heard about last year for the first time. And I was too late to do it. I was halfway into the year, halfway into the month. It's a whole month of working with ink, drawing either every day or every week or whenever you feel like it, because you can tailor make it to your own thing, or you can follow daily prompts. So last year I was halfway through the month, I think, when I learned about it, and it was annoying because I was doing a lot of work with ink last year. Some of you might remember, and I was getting really into inks. And I had bought um, this pen, which I absolutely love. It's a calligraphy pen, but it's really nice for drawing. And I was looking at all these videos, and this nib I really love. I buy a lot of things on people's recommendations and after watching other YouTubers' videos. And I will be doing a few shout outs to people today because Inktober is, I think it's a, I think it's a lovely thing because it encourages you as an artist to get out and look at other artists' work. And I'm really into that anyway. But it's about sharing your own work, but not just being completely selfish about it and, going, look at my work, but going off and growing a little bit as an artist by looking at other people's work and shouting them out when you can as well. So you will hear me shouting out a few people during this. And I met new people through Inktober, which was really nice. I discovered new YouTube channels and I used the hashtag. There were two hashtags associated with it. One is hashtag Inktober, the other one is hashtag Inktober 2023. And if you want to only look at the things from that day's prompts, you add day one, day two, day three, day four to the end of what you're searching, and you'll come up with that day's stuff. So the long and the short of it is that we're on day 6 at the moment because it's the 6th of October. And you can follow the prompts that they gave you, or you can make up your own prompts. Or if you're not working primarily in inks, you could do it in drawing or you could do it in painting. You can do it in like you tailor make it to your own desires, and you're still bound to run into other artists. And that's exciting because they're working with some of the same prompts as you. And you can see how somebody else would have approached the topic. And I find that very, very interesting and a way of growing as an artist. So I'm going to today on the live stream talk to you about um, show you the 5 things I've done so far and the sixth day's prompt, which I am currently working on. It's kind of half hidden under this. It's got some of the drawing for. This is the first one that I've done an actual underneath drawing for. Because this one is a complicated style, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that. It's complicated for me. I thought it would just um, be better with an underdrawing because, of course, ink, you can't rub out ink. Some kinds of ink you can, but I'm working with um, India ink is my main go-to today. But I'm also working with other stuff because the prompt for today is golden. So I have these, it's a bit of a cheat, right? But I did say you could tailor make it to your own thing. I don't know how much of a cheat because I got this new palette, and this is where the shout out starts really because I think the person whose video I watched that got me excited about this palette of colors was a channel called Milton Shand. And, if you look up at Milton Shand here on YouTube, you'll get this person's channel. It's capital M and a capital S, and I think it's all one word. But she does great videos. She does really good art as well, and she does Inktober, you see. So she had this palette, right? And I saw her using the palette, and I thought, oh my goodness, that's so beautiful, and it looks really good quality. And I looked up the palette and was surprised that it didn't break the bank. So I had to get it. I had to get it. And I'm so glad I did because today is golden. And although I have some ink pens, I have this marker, but it's not, it's a very dead kind of a golden color if you look. It's nice, but it's a brassy kind of a golden. There's all kinds of different shades of golden. It's actually absorbed on that paper quite a bit, doesn't really show up. But I couldn't resist when I got the palette. Ooh, look how beautiful, even in the light there. So beautiful. This is just a cardboard thing, but these plastic containers look quite sturdy. You could probably use them again. So the small, say for watercolor, your small pans, which I have in little portable sets, uh, they're really very small for working indoors. I use them for field stuff, but they'd be quite nice when the color runs out to reuse those inner bits there. Um, but look how nicely they behave. Ooh. And again, I'm going to try and catch the light on these. Look at all the different colors in them. This is my little rag bag of things I've generated from Inktober so far, and I'll show you the finished pieces in a second. But I saved the rag bag stuff because I have a lot of kind of collage elements going on. And I can't remember which color Milton Shand was using on our channel. I think it might have been it's either this one, which looks silver to me in this light, but is a gold. It's very soft, diffused gold. Or this one, which is real, it matches my nail varnish nearly. My nail varnish is a bit more champagne gold, but this is the kind of gold I'll be using today. And that might have been the one she was using. You see, they're all different colors. There's a cooler gold. But the pigmentation in them is fantastic. But the reason it's a slight cheat, I'm calling it a slight cheat, is that I think it's all in Chinese in the back because it's a maybe that's Japanese. Oh my goodness, I can't tell the difference. I don't know which it is. But this palette is, I think it's billed as an acrylic palette. But I don't think it's, you can get metallics and watercolors and things as well, you see. But to even define what an ink is kind of difficult sometimes because if you look at this ink that I have, I bought this one a while back. This is a very bright yellow, it goes on a very bright yellow. But it's an acrylic. It's an acrylic ink, which means it has some acrylic in there. It's a thicker, and paint tends to be defined as something thicker than ink. You know what I mean? So that is a kind of a slightly thicker thing. But the thinner inks are the ones that you tend to be able to use pens and everything with. And even this one, you use this with water, but you use it like a watercolor. So I'm going to be using it on today's piece, and you'll get to see some of that. I have done some work in advance because this is quite a complicated piece, which I'll talk about in a little while. I'll talk about inspiration for it and everything. But we'll just go back over the sketch pad first. And thanks to Milton Shand for that recommendation for this because I'm gonna so look forward to this because all the usages of this, if you look on one of my test sheets, you can use it for glazing things. Ooh, I'm really excited about that because I had been using glitter in my paintings and working them in with glazes on the top as well. And but I didn't have one as fine particled as that the paint shows so beautifully through. So that is very exciting to have this, and I can't wait to use it today. You might be able to see in the bit that I have drawn out so far, there's a beautiful sun in this, and I'm going to do that. But I'm going to bring it from the start because the thing about the prompts, I thought, for this was that I don't know what the person making up the prompts wanted it to be this way, but after a few days of doing it, even if you haven't looked at all 31 prompts, you realize that there's a narrative starting to develop. And it's not like somebody just picked words, random words out of a dictionary, flipping the pages open. I think they wanted you maybe to get a narrative out of it. But we tend to make a narrative out of random things anyway if we mentally put them in the same category. So no matter what the words were, I think a lot of us would have made a narrative. So for me, there's already on day 6, there's a narrative emerging, even though I tried not to look at all the prompts and I wanted to do the month without uh, preparing too much in advance because I was afraid of um, not being able to keep enthusiastic enough for the whole thing. And if I knew what I was going to do in advance too well, I thought I might get bored. So that was my thinking. So on day 1, the prompt was dream. And that's a nice prompt because most people would be able to think up something for that. And I wanted to just play with materials for this. This was a new sketchbook, so I already was thinking that there was going to be some kind of a narrative going, obviously, because I'm putting them all in the same sketchbook. So some sort of a narrative, I find, always emerges out of one's own work if you're working in sequence like that and not leaving big breaks between things. And part of Inktober, I think, was to encourage you to draw every day because, of course, that's how people get better. Sorry, a slurp for tea. I don't want my tea to get cold. And it was nice to see so many school going age people participating. I think some people were doing it for their art class and everything because they somebody that age, they keep drawing, they get better, and it tends to become a lifetime habit then to get into art and to also see what it is that's so refreshing and life affirming about art at a time when everybody's talking to you about careers and things like that. And art, it can be a career, but it can be a very vocational kind of thing or an obsessive kind of thing as well. So, but it definitely, art gives you something, you know what I mean? So it was great to see a lot of young people getting into this challenge. And first day, dream. I was playing with materials. I used things like a sponge. I had a little piece of plastic fine netting off grocery bags or something and was pressing that with ink on it into the page and discovering that my sketch pad was not very conducive to working well with very watery inks because it was a very cheap sketch pad, and this is kind of one of the reasons it's not a good idea getting really cheap sketch pads if you're working with watery media because you can see the bleeding going on there isn't necessarily what I wanted. There wasn't very much water in the thing, and it bleeds through to the next page. So by the time I got to day 2, this was already going on in the page, and there was a bit of bleed on this page, bleed through from page 1. So I was sort of saying, "Ooh, what'll I do about this?" And I said, "I'll go with it for a while and see how that works." And I used it as a starting point for the next day's stuff. So the next day's prompt was spider. So that was the 2nd of October. And you can see me getting out the silver pen there. I might actually use some of the silver color today in part of the picture I'm doing today. I'll show you. I also started breaking out into collage stuff because um, I had that cut up, and it might have been for something else. I can't remember, but I had this already cut up, and the a oh no, I didn't, because I think I created that quote especially for this picture, because this picture had a humorous feel to it. In space, nobody can hear you scream. So, looking back on it, my narrative is that this is what she was dreaming about, and that this is starting to get a narrative already, like a story. So the third, no, hang on a second, missed a page there. So the third page, the prompt was path, right? So I noticed, right, and I noticed it after this day, but I think the thought occurred to me on this day when I got the prompt, that I thought, it looks like it's going to be an adventure, and it's going to be something about what I would call the hero's journey, which is a Joseph Campbell idea. He's a mythology guy who studies mythology, and there's this idea of the hero's journey, and a lot of stories and narratives revolve around this idea of the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is something happens. The main character is the hero in the story. Something happens, there's a call to adventure, right? And path is a call to adventure. So this is how I started thinking, okay, this is a hero's journey situation here. And when you think about when you're reading books, this is how a lot of them start out, that something urges an action on the part of a protagonist in the book, because you'd have no story otherwise, would you? And the protagonist sets out in some way on this kind of journey of discovery. And events can happen, or it can be a psychological journey. And you can see me starting to work more with cut up bits there, because I had this beautiful envelope, um, that this is the inside of an envelope that was a very boring thing from a bill, but the inside of the envelope was very exciting and I wanted to use it. So I used the inside of the envelope here as well to create more texture for my path, because I wanted it a nighttime kind of um, adventure. And this is kind of there's a path like this in my garden actually, and I call it the Heffalump path, which is a thing out of Winnie the Pooh, but it's actually a cat path. The cats have this little hole in the bush in the garden, and it's a cat path, and they go off. But here it's like a journey up to the stars, because stars are kind of an adventurous thing, and I've got the glitter going on there because stars, why not have fun, you see? And I have varnished it to bring out the blacks in the ink. So I was having a lot of fun with lines and textures and things there. And we're already on the adventure, aren't we? So the next day, right, what happens to in these adventures is that there's a moment when you might have a call to adventure, but do you answer the call, you see? And the next day's prompt was dodge. So I did this about, I just wanted to do a portrait, right? I just felt like doing a portrait. So I made this one about psychologically dodging something. And with these, I'm being fairly freewheeling, that the first idea that I come up with, I think, okay, that's a good idea. And I just go with the first idea. So this was the first idea I came up with. So I just went with it. And um, I did this. Kind of a fearful person, kind of hiding a bit from something. That's what that kind of flap that comes down is, wanting to kind of dodge something. They're holding up their hand in kind of protection. And often that's the way with life adventures, you dodge them, you know. So then the next day, and this is where I started sticking things in, because I realized that all this bleed through wasn't necessarily my best friend, because I was going to end up in a stylistic cul-de-sac if I kept going that direction, and wasn't going to be able to get all the range of effects that I wanted. So I had a very nice thick watercolor paper for that one, because I was using the inks very watered down. I had a little bit of, I have a very nice brush pen that I thought that was a terrific pen myself. Bought it recently. I absolutely love it. It's an India ink brush pen. very reasonably priced, and I use that on some parts of it, and then uh, water down some inks. I have an ink I'm really passionate about, this Diamine brand stuff, and this colour is Aurora Borealis. So this is turning up a lot in this. You'll notice a blue cast over a lot of my pictures so far. And I have a pink one, which is a magenta, which really takes over if I'm not really careful, and my yellow ink as well. And I have a green ink. So this is the leftover. I often like the palettes and the mixing stuff a lot when I make something. So I quite often keep them, because even today's one, that's very pretty. You see, it's a kind of a nice element. So that won't be collaged in here. That will be saved for another sketchbook I have that I put swatches and things in and experiments. So I'll save it in there. Okay, so we're getting along on the journey now. And the next yesterday's prompt was map. So yeah, that's what they're thinking. They're thinking, okay, adventure. And this is perfect for the hero's journey, isn't it? So our hero has accepted the adventure, you see. But the way I think of it is that all of us on Inktober are or even people not participating, just, sitting around watching the videos and everything. And I would encourage anybody to go up and look up the tag and see what people are coming up with for those prompts, because I think you'll enjoy them. So we're all on this journey together in Inktober. So it's like we're all heading into this forest. We don't know what's going to happen. But there's a path. We knew we had a path. Some people have found an actual path, and this person has found a path, right? I don't know if this person is me or somebody else, because anyone doing Inktober is on a path, right? So what do you need when you're on a path? You need a map. So this is a very clever traveler, because this traveler has, I remember reading a book when I was a kid, and it was about kids going into a forest, and they had this string so they could find their way back. So I thought that was a nice idea. So this map here, the fact that there's a string attached to this bit, it implies that there's more than one person on this journey. And a map is a helpful thing that helps you reach your destination. But when we open up the map, it's actually a bit confusing, the map. It seems to be a puzzle in itself, this map. And we have to handle it carefully because it's very, very delicate. And somebody has glued it together hastily and everything, But it's very delicate. But it's a very hard to read map, except for those that know. Because once you study it, you realize that there are some instructions on it. For example, this bit, take the golden path, appears to be an instruction. And there are other little instructions hidden around the map as well, about locations of things, and little helpful hints up in corners. And so you have to examine front and back of the map in order to get at those hints. And the map itself, the way I had to learn how to do the map, was a puzzle as well, and it'll be a fun puzzle if I can get it back together again. Because, as I say, it's very delicate, very old. So it folds in on itself some way. Sorry, I have to do all the diagonals before I can get back. There we go. We're getting there. I've done something wrong with that bit. You see, the puzzle even extends to getting the map to fold up again. There, that goes under somewhere. I have it wrong somewhere there. I don't want to mess it up too much. Hang on. I have to get it right before we can move on in our journey. because my oh my goodness. Okay, I have to go to each corner first. This is the secret of the map. This is called you could call it a Victorian puzzle, secret message puzzle, and I liked it for that. I have something wrong with this corner. Is that the outside? Yeah. See, those guys there were there to help me figure out the outside. The fun never stops. You see, if you weren't the right kind of traveler, you wouldn't even participate to the extent that you get this far. We're getting there though. Oh wait, that's the outside bit there now. There. I still have something wrong there. Isn't live streaming great? There! There we go. No, I don't know what I've done. The other way. That way. Oh my God, I'll never get this back together. There. Oh my goodness. You see, I did say it was a puzzle, didn't I? So, and then the rest of it is having to get the string back through that. I had to use a needle to get it back through it to tie it up because I've got holes in each corner. However, moving along, you get a hint about today's prompt now because there appear to be things going on in the bushes, and there's a figure there. And if you peer really closely, you might be able to make out the outline of lions and things. So these are all the sort of dangers that turn up when you're on the path because you're not being called a hero for no reason, you know. You're a hero because you're going to encounter things that are difficult along the way. And um, a lot of artists are heroes in a way because they do something that a lot of people don't really value or have forgotten is a hidden treasure these days. And art is like gold. And we're going to be doing golden today. And when you find art and the importance of an art in your life, you really found gold or kind of the philosopher's stone. So this um, turning art into something golden, right, is the theme today. But it's also it's got a there are going to be a few different levels to the themes in the way that you think, and if you can unlock your personal psychological reasons for doing a picture, you're going to get so involved in the picture and get so much out of it. And for me, this one today, it was going to be about some of the other people in this forest and some of the false paths in the forest, right? Because the forest seemed to be the adventure that I was going on in the path. And I'm not terribly surprised because I absolutely love trees and love drawn trees. And I have some references for today. That was a piece that I did earlier in the spring. And for I have a few new people now on my channel that turned up because of Inktober and me going over and looking at their work and talking to them about their work and saying I really like their work and things. So thanks for coming over here. And after Inktober, I know it's going to be a very busy time for you in Inktober, but after Inktober, if you're still around, go and have a look at a few of the other videos like this kind of thing. Because uh, these all inform your work. All your other work feeds into your work, doesn't it? So this one was from the spring. And I go out and I paint trees a lot because I love trees. But to be able to bring them into a narrative story was so exciting for me. And the medium affects the story as well, and the prompt affects the story. So this whole prompt of golden, well, golden has to do with hiya, study Nihongo. Nice to see you. Uh, let me know if you're doing Inktober. because I'm very interested in going to your channel and having a look at what you're doing if you're doing Inktober, because I want to give shout outs to people who are doing Inktober, that stuff that I really liked. I'm not shouting everybody out, obviously, you couldn't possibly, but there were people like a channel called Lauren's Latest Project. That's LAUREN and latest project, all one word, right? And um, she, like me, is a small channel, but she's so talented, and I really think she should have a lot more subs, and people should check her out and everything. So she's another person whose channel I'd really highly recommend. And then somebody's channel that was completely different in approach and everything, because she has a very loose approach to painting and experimental and everything, and does a lot of kind of finger painting and freestyle things and everything. Somebody called um, Aliyah Art, and it's Aliyyah with the capital A at the beginning, and then the second word art, ARTE. And her channel was, I got a lot out of her channel as well, both Inktober people, and there were loads and loads and loads of other people. Um, that I just thought, this is really, I'm really enjoying this, doing this Inktober challenge, for seeing new types of art and everything, and different people's approaches to the same prompts. So when I have this done today, this is going to be a few hours work yet, but when I have it done, going to wander off and have a look at as many as I can find of other people's pieces for the same day, and that's going to be really exciting to see like how they handled it compared to me. So what I decided to do for today was um, have a guide that's in this forest, right? It's this same dangerous kind of forest, but we have a map. I do have a map. We do have a map, but it's quite a difficult one to figure out. Maybe you have to be there before you know where you are. I know it involves bees. There is bee at the center of my map there, which is actually from a piece of paper that I've been dying to use. I've kept this piece of paper for about 3 years because it had these beautiful images of bees on it. And as you can see, they're gone now. They're cut out because they turned up in the middle of my map. And this bees are going to be significant in my narrative, right? Because of this, just because of, random things go in, but they do mean something to you as well. You see, it's your art, and they do have meaning. So some of the inspiration for today is this character is, he's a knight who's gone into the woods because he's a hero. It's a hero's journey, right? But he appears to have a kind of a grail, a sort of, it's kind of like a communion cup. And I'm sure you can guess that isn't that going to be a wonderful opportunity to use some gold ink. And the other gold element is the sun, and the sun is behind him, and he's going to be all in armor. So some silver is going to come into this as well. So it's silver, gold, and black so far. But he's down on his knees and still holding his horse, but his horse is kind of trying to escape. And I've got these elements in it that are Gothic, right? So the original sketch for it, I sat around last night. What I do is that the prompt for the next day, I look at it the night before to get a head start, because some of these are quite time consuming. So there was the original sketch for it last night, where I was working out the idea very quickly in my lovely liquid draw pen, which I love very much. Very nice for kind of loose kind of sketching. And then today, what I did was I had a couple of things I was looking at. I'm going to show you because we're all here to learn new things, and I want to kind of thank the people who kind of recommended things in their videos to me because it was very useful to me. So maybe you'll find these nice things to look at art-wise. Here's one I was looking at last night, and it's Albrecht Dürer. And I have this book of all these absolutely beautiful pictures by him. And these would have been woodcuts, but um, you can see how that would be fantastic inspiration for the sun. You don't have to copy things, but some of the ideas in them, I love the way he does drapery and everything. And what I'm doing in the picture I'm doing at the moment is I'm doing some of the trees in this forest, and I really hope this is nice sharp focus, because I'm doing some of the trees like drapery. So at the moment, I'm going to have to try and bring it out more and get my white pen out maybe. But there is actually a woman's face in here, a face and an arm, and this is a dress. So she's kind of hidden, right? And that links back up with this earlier hidden image. So she's one of the people on the hero's journey in the forest, right? But so is he. But he has come adrift slightly in that he's down on his knees, and this kind of um, uh, cup, Eucharist sort of Holy Communion cup that he's got has fallen out on the ground out of his saddlebag, and he's going to be still holding the strap of that and looking that direction and holding his horse in the other direction. So his arms are going to be sort of outstretched, but he's down on his knees, and he's going to have. I had great fun last night because he's going to have 16th century Spanish conquistador kind of an outfit on with a suit of armor, right? So clearly he's on a quest, and it's for gold, you see, and he thinks he's found the gold already. But we, the viewer, are supposed to question that because the sun coming up is finer gold and more interesting looking than the cup in the picture. But in the darkness and everything, you've got a turret that's kind of supposed to look like a an outside of a church of kind of medieval period. Conquistadors are 16th century Spain, right? But you're still coming out of that kind of Gothic period. So what I did, I mean, you've got to do this to get the thing to hang together. Like last night, I was looking up some the helmet and some of the armor and everything. It won't be very exact the way I'm doing it, but I do want to have some references that are okay. So here's the other thing I was looking at for those trees, right? This these Gothic the way flying buttresses were made, it was like a architecturally very important development in Gothic uh, era, because it was supposed to look like the building was ascending to heaven and everything. So, but it looks quite like trees, doesn't it? So I'm using that kind of structure and the tall Gothic windows um, as the structure between trees. So some of this stuff you're supposed to kind of not immediately see some of it, but start seeing more of it the more you look at the picture. So I want it to be very interesting like that. This is all very fine detail over here. And as I move over this way, I'm hoping there's going to be more blocks of black over here with just little bits of design on them to contrast slightly with that. So that's where I'm going on it. And that book I'd strongly recommend that book for anybody who wants to learn about art. It's a wonderful book because it is chock a block with beautiful illustrations. I've been not only looking at knights' armor, but looking at costumes and everything of the right era for what I wanted and the right atmosphere. So you always have to have some references that you're excited about. Um, when you're creating a piece of art. So, and it's nice we have prompts, but it's nice that I have figurative stuff like that tree reference to tie it to as well. So what I'm going to do now is I might just see if I can get a little bit of the sun done, and we'll fill in some of the gold on the sun. And I'm going to get my pen out because I want to get his shape. I learned the name for these kind of helmets last night and I've forgotten it already. So this guy is going to be in shadow a little bit. Now you see the way already that thicker line is looking a little bit different from what's happening on this side. So I'm hoping to be able to work with this thick and thin line to be able to do something. And of course, these sort of pens, you can vary the thickness of the line, which I like. And I had thought about doing the whole month without um, doing any of this underdrawing, just do it very immediate. And then I thought, no, that's not really working for me terribly well. And I don't know if it's because the prompts made me want to tell a few stories in a very exact kind of way. I think it might have been that, like that one there with the face. I don't think I couldn't have done that one. Um, I couldn't have done that one without doing some kind of little bit of underdrawing for him. You know, a whole lot, but okay. So we're going to try out the gold on this, but I just have to get a certain amount of this bit done. There is actually another thing I want to try out, and I need a piece of watercolor paper to do it on. Maybe I'll just use the end of this. I want to try out for the armor. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have just do all the armor black, but I am hoping I can find it here. I want to give that a second to dry, but yeah, it needs another minute to dry. I'm hoping that if I draw on it in white and then come along with my silver on top of that, that I'll be able to get a highlight, a mid-tone in white and silver, and then the black of the armor, and have that show up. So the armor is down his arms and around here as well. The other implement that I'm using, and I just need a tissue. The other implement I'm using, if you haven't used one of these before and you want to see it in action, is this, and I'm just using this for, the finer sort of details on things. And if that black thing doesn't, that trick doesn't really work. So I have some interesting things like foreshortening that I have to do here. There's one other color I might go with. I might go with a red as well in this, an ink. And it might have to be magenta, which I could warm up with the yellow, but the problem with that yellow ink is it makes everything a little bit too opaque. And because I want a blood red in this, I want black, silver, gold, and some red, because I want the blood and the sun to be themes in this, because obviously where this gets used, this chalice gets used for drinking blood out of as well. That's what it is. The blood of Christ. So you give Holy Communion out of this and you drink blood. And I have, because he is a conquistador type adventurer, he he doesn't have hosts, right? He has money. So he might be somebody that has stolen this bounty here, you see. And is trying to make his way through the forest to escape. That could be his story. And he's coming a cropper. So, of all the people on this adventure, he might not be one of the ones you want to reach the destination safely. Because in stories, we always want the good to win, don't we? So let's do more little skinny bits in between here before we try out our gold. And I'm looking forward to trying out the gold. And we have 12 rays of the sun here with little ones in the back that really count. And what I am thinking is that this is dawn breaking, right? And that the reason that this night has fallen is that dawn broke very suddenly over the horizon. He was in this very dark forest, and this is going to be all very dark around the. I'll have to make the horse white, I reckon. Um, but that when dawn broke, the sun blinded him, and he fell. And because he loves his treasure, he had that strap around him, but the strap broke, and this his precious chalice fell, and the horse got startled and everything. So, and interestingly enough, he's not even looking at the dawn. He's more interested in recovering his chalice. So that's where he's at. Uh, his bounty, you see. So I would estimate I have possibly another hour or two in left in this drawing because I want to take my time to enjoy it. Let's see how the black takes that white and silver. This tends to sink into paper a little bit. I don't know if it'll take it any better on that. See, I have another white, but on the other white is a slight cheat as well because it's an acrylic pen. But to get something to sit on top of a black ink, it usually has to have at least an acrylic mix in it, I find. So if you're using a white ink, it's can be an acrylic ink. So I might be able to do it with that, even though it's a little bit thick for my purposes. And I did order, as well as buying this, I did order gel pens in silver and gold because they're not very expensive either. And I thought that they might come in handy for some of the other days of the month because there is throughout the book there are themes that come back. There's no silver or gold in that one, but while the person is actually on the adventure, the silver and gold turns up quite a bit. So, and then I think at the center of the adventure, I would think there will be a point when there's kind of a peak point for the adventure, and there'll be a lot of gold in that. So, this is one of the peak points in the narrative, I feel, even though I don't know a lot of what the rest of the prompts are. I'll know tomorrow's prompt later today. Um, but I deliberately, as I say, haven't looked ahead. That's my approach. But I'm so excited about seeing other people's work, and I don't like looking at it until I'm finished doing mine. I don't want to be too influenced, you see, by other people's work. Because, a lot of people have some really strong work going. So, okay, so some of this cuts across, and some of that would be outlined quite black by the sunshine. coming up. So this is the thing, you have to find ways of doing things linearly. And I don't want to come along and just copy Durer either, his style. But there were a lot of things to like about the way he went about things. And I would actually be tempted when I have all the inking done on this to put in a little touch of that Aurora Borealis blue that I like so much, just because it would be very nice for the feeling of nighttime becoming dawn. Because this is kind of happening at dawn. And where's my blue? You see, you can get that kind of really nice blue out of it. So if the paper can handle it, I might do that. And it'd be beautiful against the gold as well. Dying to colour in this gold now. So areas that the red would go in, probably in his little pantalones, his little breeches. And I have a little sort of visual joke there about he's got his behind sticking out and the horse's behind is sticking out as well. And it's kind of it is a visual joke there because it's kind of saying, look at the stupid man fiddling with the money when the glory of the sun is rising before him. The sun in this is kind of showing him the way. See, you make up these things yourself as you go along with the story. That's what I love about them so much. Horses have a particular thing they do with their ears, which I can't remember. Is it they go forward when they're in shock? And the horse is more in shock at him than the sun. We don't really originally know what was the moment that the horse had the shock, but and I'm doing one of those fashion saddles as well. Okay, so I have enough. Probably that's going to be a little flash of red there from his cloak, and then red down here as well, you see, to contrast with the silver and black of his armor. But I've got enough done, I think, to be able to. And then bits of that I might darken up a little bit. I don't know. I'll keep working away on that. I think the thing is to just get really absorbed in it, and your work does tend to improve the more absorbed you can get. And it's going to be one big tree kind of separating night from day here. But he definitely belongs to night because he is a night. But he belongs to night in another way as well because he's got a darkness going on that's the darkness of ignorance, if you see what I mean. To count my rays: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 houses at night of the stars and everything. So, okay, so we have nice intersecting shapes and everything. Let's go for the gold. The only thing, right, is I might get rid of, if I can find this, I might get rid of some of the underdrawing because that might get stuck under the gold and the camera might actually start shaking now. Apologies for that. It's attached to the table. And all on this side, this has quite a lot of pencil marks on it as well, which will have to be cleaned up afterwards. But I think things do look 100% nicer when you clear up your pencil marks. And you see, I can get back in here and keep working away. And I had this little mark making thing I liked earlier that involved doing dots as well. I like the look of dots beside lines. And like, I don't really learn how to do these things from other people. I sort of felt my own alphabet of doing things from just doing them. But there is a way of drawing trees that I like very much that somebody like Germer would have used, which is this little curved line, which I'm very keen on. So other things that I'll have to work on later would be stuff like getting her face to come out, because there is a little face there. So a tiny little bit of colour might come into that, or maybe just bringing a few bits out, because there is actually a hand supposed to be there, and drapery. So this is where the sort of bit of acrylic came in handy, but that acrylic thing is that little bit too, it's like a cleanup device, but it's a little bit too thick for all the uses, but it is handy for re-establishing a white area that you want to keep. Let's do the gold, the moment I've been waiting for. This just makes me go, ooh, when I did it first. Ooh, and the colors on that palette are just so beautiful. And that's it over the black, you see. I'll just do a tiny little bit of silver over this black to show you. It takes a minute to actually activate it, but isn't that beautiful? Look at that. Goes straight over black very happily. But when you're cleaning your brush in the water, it goes all into the particles, go all into the water. So you have to change your water very regularly. But for inks, you do anyway, don't you? Okay, so we're going for this beautiful gold here. So I have two. This is why I have two things of water out. You can actually see the water changing color. We only have a minute left to do this. So I'll upload a short later as well when I'm finished to show you the finished thing. And I hope you'll have a look. And I'll be going off looking for all of you through the forest. Because I know that you're on the golden path too, through Inktober, on your hero's journey. And I hope everybody has a wonderful time. And even if you miss days, don't worry about that at all. You'll be around. There'll be days. You mightn't do every day, but there'll be days. Oh, I'll clean that up afterwards, maybe. And I'm going to really take my time on this one today, but I have to be finished before 5 o'clock, I reckon, because I don't want to do this at night time, because it's very hard to get the lighting looking okay to show you the finished piece. So I have a deadline. I only have 2 hours to complete this. Oh, that's so beautiful. And I am going to have a little bit of black intruding there. Not very much because I want this black with some silver. So I don't want to have too much going on. There'll be black here, but I just want a few shapes in the gold. And then that background will be colored as well. Sorry, I had this moved down a bit too much. So the other thing I want to color in before I go. Oh, see, that's going to be so pretty when the background is all colored. At the moment, it's too high key. It's still got the white paper, but I'm going to apply a bit more gold while I have the gold going. And we're going to put it on his chalice. And you see, what's nice about this is this starry, what was it, starry colors palette. There is like a technical name for this palette which has numbers on it, but it's a Kuretake, Kuretake starry palette. And we can come along and do the coins as well. And you see, you can still see the underneath drawing with this stuff. That's what I really like about it. So, like, if I'm working on silver on that, all the drawing that I did underneath will not go to waste. So we're liking that. And there are little details that you might not see until you really start looking, eyes watching, because there's lots of people on this adventure watching each other, looking at their stuff, sharing their stuff. So the other thing is this floral shape is about kind of the church kind of feeling. There's also, and I was going to do things with that white pen to actually outline some bits. This a kind of a weird black mark, and that's a counterpoint to this sun over here. Now I like the way the India ink has mixed with the gold there, so you can get a little gradation effect, which is nice. Um, so I like that, and I think this is going to be very effective when I have that lovely aurora borealis blue. In fact, I'm tempted to put some of that in. I like put some of that in. Oh, that's my green. Look, isn't that nice? It's actually a not hugely subtle color. That I'm not that nuts about it. And although this aurora borealis isn't super subtle, it's nice. I do like it. Let me see, can I find another piece of paper for testing things that you see that color? Ooh, that just makes me happy. That color. So it's really only the top of the sky I want that color in. Might do silver rays there maybe, because we've still got a little bit of nighttime going on, and I want silver to represent the night. Also being mindful of the fact that this paper bleeds very strangely. So it's still completely night over on this side. So we're going to go ash. So I was originally going to just do this in black and white. Then I thought, no, gold, because I want to use my gold, and it is golden, the prompt. So, but just having a little bit of dawnishness going on there towards the horizon. But it is getting more colourful. And when that, if I can find my ink, when that red goes in, I don't wanna do too much inking up, but when the red goes in, you see, you really got your theme going then because they're kind of royal colours. Um, they're also kind of churchy colours, you know. And look at that, you see how colourful. I'm not going to ink up too much because I want to do all the folds here and I don't want to wait forever, but just to show you what the ink looks like. And probably going to have a little bit of it on the horse's saddle as well. And that's going to be a white horse. So yeah, sorry I kept moving out of the camera there, but that's going to be the next couple of hours work. And it's going to be so enjoyable. And that little, I love drawing with that pen. Um, So it's that pen, that thicker brush pen, that wonderful Starry Colors palette, which I was very grateful to the other person doing Inktober, Milton Chant, for showing us, you know, what palette she was using and telling us the name of it and everything. And you can get great recommendations from other artists, as well as seeing their approaches and what references they were using and everything. So I hope you enjoyed that. And thanks very much for anybody who's subscribed to me over Inktober. And feel free to stick around. We'll be having many adventures. Um, and some of them together, you know. So give me a couple of hours and then I'm going to pop around and see who I can find and see what everybody's been up to. It's been so much fun and I know it's going to be a lot of fun later. Dying to see what everybody did for this one, golden. Okay, bye everybody. Take care.